Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Mm-hmm. Is it safe to say that based off of your comments?
Woo! Yeah. Be offended. True patriot.
Well, I thought it was the worst cabinet level appointment in history until they then heard about the Matt Gaetz appointment. Really, my reaction was that this is like the legend of Caligula, the Roman emperor, who wanted to nominate his horse as a Roman consul. You had to be a Roman senator at the time to be a consul, and it was intended to show how demeaned and degraded the Roman Senate had become. So now we're going to see whether the American Senate can stand up and reject two people who are totally unqualified, unfit professionally, and really lacking in the immoral characteristics, the character that you need to hold these jobs. I think this vote should be 100-0 against both of them.
A real dope, but I thought he'd be great because he was so stupid. He was like a boiler. Every time, if somebody shot down a little tiny crappy drone that cost about $15, he'd want to go to war with Russia. I said, no, I think he was great for me, though, for a period of time because he was a nut job, and everybody, I could see his face get red with that stupid white mustache, and he'd be ready to explode. And this was good for me. I went to Kim Jong-un in North Korea. I took this moron with me, and he never said anything. But when Kim Jong-un saw him, he said, oh, shit, I think the guy wants to go to war. So he was great for me to negotiate with. The same thing with Russia. You know, when Putin saw him, I'd be very nice. I'd say, hi, Vladimir, how you doing? And then Putin's, 2 rows back. And it'd see that moron and it'd say, holy shit, this guy wants to go to war with me.
Matt Gaetz get the votes in the Senate?
I don't know. You're finding all the swamp creatures coming out right now. Everybody's got an opinion up here. But at the end of the day, President Trump was elected by an enormous vote. And he deserves a team around him that he wants. It's not us to determine that. We've got 53 votes in the Senate. We can confirm with 51. I've already seen where a couple of them says, I'm not voting for him. Wait a minute. You are not the United States of America. You have one vote in the U.S. Senate. You did not get elected president. Vote with President Trump. This is the last chance we're going to have of saving this country. And if you want to get in the way, fine. But we're going to try to get you out of the Senate, too, if you try to do that.
What parts of Trump said Matt Gaetz get the votes in the Senate?
I don't think I'm divulging or betraying any confidences to say that when we told you the news, you were in disbelief.
Are you not entertained? I mean, this is the most entertaining transition I've ever seen. No, I was as surprised as Paula because it's not a name that we had seen. You know, we'd seen some reporting, a lot of different names, frankly, a lot of really sort of well-heeled Washington legal types that were on the list. So I'm as surprised as anyone. But what I take away from this is that this is a president-elect who is feeling his power. I mean, this is someone who is appointing people to things, whether it's Gaetz or anything else we've seen today, who is feeling his power, feeling his influence, doesn't feel like he's in a mood to negotiate with the people in Washington, D.C. He's here to do what he wants to do, and he's going to expect the Republicans to fall in line. Now, all these people, whether it's Gaetz or Hegseth or anyone else, have to go to confirmation and go through these committee hearings and prove themselves like anyone else. But it is apparent to me that Trump is in a decisive mood and is not someone who's interested in picking things that he would consider to be watered down. So that's my initial reaction to this one. I mean, we truly learned about it 2 seconds before we came on here, so pretty wild day.
Yeah, we had to say it is on Trump's Truth Social account. It is coming from his mouth, right? It's coming from his account. Megan, your reaction?
I mean, yesterday we had a bunch of conventional picks, and I think people felt good about where we were going and maybe thought that he was going to be a little bit more moderated than we were expecting. And then today brought a whole new set of people to confirm. So I think it's a little bit shocking with this and with Tulsi Gabbard with DNI. So I just, I think it'll be interesting to see what tomorrow brings. But I do agree. Who knows if this is going to, how many of these people are going to actually get confirmed? I think there are a lot of people. And
who do you think will have the most trouble being confirmed? And do you expect that there will be some who are not?
Well, look, I think that for the most part, these people, I mean, they do have qualifications. I mean, Matt Gaetz is a lawyer, and he has been in Congress, and obviously is a supporter of the president's agenda, and he'll have supporters in the Senate. They all get a chance to go and compete and go
He's
and prove
been on
themselves.
both sides of the legal system, as it were.
So, but he, like everyone else, they have to go up there and prove themselves. But you can't underestimate Donald Trump's influence over the Republicans in the Senate on this, and he's going to be insistent that he get his government and his administration. And look, here's the thing. He won. And he won the popular vote, and he believes he has a mandate, and honestly, I think he does too. And some of these picks are conventional. Marco Rubio, for instance, well-known name. But some of them are designed to shake up Washington. And I am assuming that's what Donald Trump believes he's doing here with a few of these folks, is I'm not here to pick the Washington people, I'm here to pick the people who will shake up Washington. That's going to be one of them.
But I also think some of these picks are
Again, y'all, I have to play these clips for you. I just have to. I'm sorry. You might see the same clips again, but you have... It's my duty to make sure you see it and hear it again. And if you haven't seen it ever in your life, here you go.
Like, why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
My colleague says we've passed the strongest border bills in history. Well, guess what? Look at the border right now. We didn't use sufficient leverage in the debt limit or in any other thing to actually get results on the border. The border is a disaster, really something I don't think you're going to be campaigning on, that you fix the border. Second, you said you streamlined regulations. What the gentleman from Louisiana doesn't tell you is that all of the regulatory reform he was just bragging about is waivable by the stroke of a pen of someone in the Biden White House. Do you really think you've got anything for that? It's a total joke. And then finally, the welfare to work that the gentleman from Louisiana said we got. The welfare programs that they said that they streamlined with their welfare to work stuff, they're actually going to grow. Because while they did work requirements, they blew out those programs with expanded eligibility. I'm real glad you guys didn't put work requirements on Medicaid. It probably would have resulted in Medicaid expansion. And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations. I'll be happy to fund my political operation through the work of hardworking Americans, $10 and $20 and $30 at a time, and you all keep showing up at the lobbyist fundraisers and see how that goes for you. I reserve.
Why is the world's foremost pederast protected? This makes no sense. Like this is like evil, right? Like everyone agrees on it. It's like you got a 99%
on Epstein. Issue. Bill Barr is the one that needs to be called in to give sworn testimony on what happened there at Bureau of Prisons, because that is not that. There's just no way that the story you're getting is the real story there. No freaking way, and Bill Barr knows it.
I think most people believe that, right? And like it's got no way that that's.
I actually think it was I actually think that on Epstein, it was a foreign government that took him out. I don't think it was a domestic enterprise.
Really?
I do. I'm not going to say which one, but I don't think it was domestic inspired to take out of him. I think that was a foreign operation, government sponsored.
So foreign operation took out Epstein inside of our prison.
Yes.
So they must have been allowed to.
Oh, I think it was in concert with people in our government, but not at like some low level guard getting bribed kind of way.
Yeah.
At a state to state level.
So that's probably a lot of party interests in keeping that under wraps.
You better believe it. Weapon systems at play, global deals at play.
Interesting. You have evidence to back that up?
I just am positing it as a theory.
Wow. What about UFOs?
Well,
look, this is what the American people voted for, right? I mean, Trump was not shy about what he wanted to do in this country. And, in Matt Gaetz, he's not only going to get someone who's fiercely loyal, but fiercely competent. Matt Gaetz knows exactly what to do with the Attorney General's office. He will turn that into be most powerful Attorney General in American history.
I want to start with Matt Gaetz, who is potentially on track here to lead the agency that includes the FBI, where you spent so much of your professional life. What are the implications of having Matt Gaetz as Attorney General?
Good morning, Casey. There's so many things that kind of jump out to you when you hear that the prospect of that nomination. But I think the first thing that really impresses me is what it says about Donald Trump's intention for the Justice Department and the FBI. Matt Gaetz is obviously wholly unqualified for this job. He's someone who, quite frankly, couldn't get hired by the FBI if he was, had he ever been interested in that, which I'm sure he never was. Probably couldn't qualify for a clearance. Matt Gaetz has, by his own statement, some of those you just played, no interest in the FBI or the Department of Justice, no respect for the work that they do or for the people that do that work. He is singularly a disruptor. He is someone who's been selected because of his interest and desire to go into the organization and tear things apart, likely get rid of people, stop doing a lot of the work that the Justice Department is currently doing. And that is just, we spent a lot of months debating whether or not Donald Trump actually means the things he says about the Department of Justice and the FBI, whether he's actually going to try to really dismantle those organizations in a serious way. I think the selection of Matt Gaetz is a clear indication of how squarely he intends to do that.
Y'all, Matt Gaetz. Oh my goodness. Donald Trump, our next president of these United States of America. The president-elect Donald Trump announced that Matt Gaetz will be the next Attorney General. Y'all do not understand how great this is. Matt Gaetz is not coming to play. Oh, yeah. I know the left is running scared right now. The Democrats are running scared. Matt Gaetz is not going to play. He is going to do what is right for this country, and he will make sure to wipe out all of this corruption. Let's go, baby.
Matt Gaetz is the right guy for Attorney General. He is a true constitutionalist.
Well, do you think he's going to get confirmed?
I think he will. If senators can vote for Merrick Garland, a guy who absolutely decimated the Constitution, I think they can certainly vote for Matt Gaetz as someone who will absolutely uphold the Constitution.
Weissman, this to me, while shocking and galling, is the least surprising thing Trump has done since he won. I think since he won Tuesday night, yesterday he put Marco Rubio atop the State Department, and people at this table said, oh, this isn't going to be so bad. On Monday, he made the announcement that he would turn to recess appointments. It's obvious that this trio of Fox News anchors, Matt Gaetz, whose biggest war in Washington is with Kevin McCarthy, and Tulsi Gabbard, was what the recess appointment was all about.
Yeah, I sort of had two reactions to this announcement, and one is very similar to yours, which is we have in the president-elect somebody who is clearly not tethered to facts or law, and so we shouldn't be surprised that he has selected to nominate, yet to be confirmed, somebody for the Attorney General and somebody for the Department of National Intelligence that are not just unqualified, but have shown that they're untethered to the facts and maybe also the law. So that shouldn't be surprising. And the other is really this idea of that somehow Matt Gaetz is going to be the person who prevents and stops weaponization when he is the exhibit A to weaponization. We are in pure George Orwell 1984 land where, they say black is white and we're supposed to believe it.
Senator, the breaking news, the pick of Congressman Matt Gaetz to be the next U.S. Attorney General, your reaction?
Well, I was walking off the Senate floor just moments ago when the news was announced. You could literally hear the jaws dropping to the floor of Republican senators who are now going to be in a position to stand up to Donald Trump in a way that they have been unwilling to. I mean, listen, Matt Gaetz is dangerously unqualified, but that's not the worst of it. Gaetz has been Trump's chief defender when it comes to Trump's assault on democracy, his attempt to overthrow the government on January 6th, and he has openly called for the abolition of law enforcement agencies if they don't get in line with conservative political priorities. This is going to be a red alert moment for American democracy. Matt Gaetz is being nominated for one reason and one reason only, because he will implement Donald Trump's transition of the Department of Justice from an agency that stands up for all of us to an agency that is simply an arm of the White House designed to persecute and prosecute Trump's political enemies.
To Matt Gaetz as AG.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I think about that one.
Do you have any concerns about it?
We'll see.
And others spoke a little bit more at length, Jake, including Senator John Cornyn, who's also a senior member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, someone who ran for majority leader, fell short in that bid, said we'll have to do our job as a Senate, do our advise and consent function. Very noncommittal when I asked him if he would support him. And I also asked Senator Tom Tillis, another senior member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he said, Mr. Gaetz and I have jousted on certain issues between the House and the Senate. He said at the end of the day, it only comes down to whether you have the credentials and also the relationships. And of course, what Tillis was referring to was Gaetz' central role in pushing for the ouster of Kevin McCarthy back last year. That led to a whole back and forth. It made him very unpopular among the House Republican Conference and faced a barrage of criticism from Republicans in the Senate as well, who viewed the whole episode as showcasing how the House was dysfunctional and that how they could not govern and the like. And they pointedly blamed Gaetz for leading the charge against McCarthy. That, along with the questions about this ongoing House ethics investigation into alleged sexual misconduct. Gaetz has denied any wrongdoing, but I asked Cornyn about that too, Jake, and he said, I'm sure that will come up at the confirmation hearings. So that's one of the things that members want some answers to on that topic as well, Jake.
Interesting decision by the senator to invoke sword fighting as a metaphor there regarding Matt Gaetz.
Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
me, you're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware.
Mr. Attorney General.
That Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo
false.
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the DOJ.
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.